is a mini lecture with a self-directed activity I'd like you to do afterwards about thinking about how or the reasons why you would wish to communicate and what kind of results you might get out of that. And really, it's about thinking about who your audience is, thinking about what you're doing and who and perhaps what you hope they take away from it. And this is perhaps one of the most challenging things I've seen over my years as a newspaper editor, newspaper writer, and even doing some public relations consulting, is people don't know exactly what they want to say, nor do they know exactly who they want to have them receive the message. So you have to think about what it is, the best way to share that message, and then hopefully have a focus of where that information is going to go. So I'm going to share a few PowerPoints here just to move this along. Always consider the reason why you want to communicate something, especially in a business context. There's lots of options. Whether you're talking to people inside your company, you're talking to people outside your company, you're talking up to your boss, you're talking down, potentially downwards towards a customer. It's never quite equal with customers and companies, despite the fact companies like to make it all equal and feeling comfortable. But think about those, where communication goes. What direction is it going? Who's superior? Who's down below? And which direction is the message going? And think about the best way to send the message. So you can have reasons, like I note here. You can be asking or giving information, reasons for your communication activity, to explain something, to give instructions, to offer advice, to make a recommendation, or simply just to state the fact so it is recorded, especially in print. That becomes a record of something happening. You can persuade, you can say thank you, you can congratulate. That's kind of social media feel to it. You can foster goodwill by helping out somebody else and then they feel good in response. You can do positive things to boost your company's image. Like think about around Earth Day, April 20th, every year. You see companies, big companies talk about how we're sending our employees out to clean up garbage around our company properties. And they send pictures out on social media and it makes the company look like they're very friendly for the environment, even though they've got smokestacks and there's lots of junk going up in the air. It's a little bit of message management. And you can also use that for yourself. If you wish to have people have a more positive view of you, how you interact with others often helps shape that. If you're thanking people, the culture of sending a thank you card, perhaps sending a gift, offering to help, responding quickly to a request for assistance, all those are small movements. That's a communication as well. Your response is part of the communication. But always, 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 always think about who you are directing your communication to. And what do I want that person to do? Ask yourself, as a result of this communication, the receiver will do something. Will they give you a call? Will they answer a question for you? Will they send information back to you? I don't know. It depends on the situation. But always think of who you are communicating with, what you're hoping for them to do. It's not about what you want, it's about what they want so that they receive it. That's challenging. Understand the person who's receiving your information. Know your audience. Imagine you are the other person. How will they benefit? Where is that person in the hierarchy? Are they someone with lots of responsibility who can answer questions for you? Or are they someone who will have to ask somebody else for an answer? What is a big concern? What is the biggest concern for the person you're speaking with? For example, if I am selling a car, I want to sell my cars from a company, and I make sure that I want to make my cars appealing to young families where they have young children. I would make sure to tell in my advertising, my communication to those families with young children, how easy it is to put in safety equipment in the back seat of the car, safety seats to protect the children. That's information that would be of importance to a young family, but not as much necessarily for their parents who no longer have young children. However, if you talk to them about being grandparents who would like to safely transport their grandchildren, that's a specific message that may be of value to an older group of potential customers or people you wish to communicate. It's thinking about what the other person, what your audience needs, and then seeing what you have that matches up to those needs. Where is the person you're trying to communicate? Are they in a quiet office, or are they in a busy factory, in a busy company? What's the easiest way for you to deliver information that they can actually do something with? And the other question is, if you send communication to somebody, will somebody else see it? Social media, everybody sees it. That's the understood. But what about this? Say you write a report in your company. You send it to your manager. There's a good chance that that manager is going to share that report someplace else because the manager needed that information to have something else going on in the company. And then it could be shared someplace else. So it's oftentimes your manager isn't the final audience. So what you can do in that case is check with your manager. Okay, you've asked me to do this report for you, to create this report, to answer these questions. And is this report going to just be for you, or will it also be of assistance for someone else in the company? You can ask that question. You may find out about who your real audience is. You can do that. And consider who the best person is to send the message. It may not be you. Maybe you have a friend who has more influence, who is more highly regarded in the company than you. You have a good idea, but you ask your friend to share the information to your manager. So the manager thinks, oh, that person's smart, and I like what that person says. I'll do what they say. So you can position who's sending the message. Do they have more credibility than you do? Possibly. That's a consideration in the process. And you will find in the business world, it is not uncommon for somebody to draft an email for a manager and do all the work of the research, and then the manager will send out the information using their name. It's the way it works. There's nothing uncommon about that. The manager is asked for help to prepare the message that they wish to send. Do not be surprised by that. Think about timing. If you are trying to, here's an example. The company president is about to give a big presentation, a town hall presentation that's to all employees. That may not be the best time for you to stop that president in the hallway and say, I've got a great idea for collaborative software. The president is not going to care about your suggestion at that point. Another one on this, and this one is actually, this is something that actually happens in real life. This one. Think about this. A company is undergoing layoffs. They're losing employees. I have seen companies send out happy messages to employees about, hey, it's a great place to work here, happy times. We're right behind you at the same time as people are losing their jobs. That actually happens because somebody sending the message didn't think about how angry the employees might be. It happens. It's like, oh my, How can that happen? But it happens. A disconnect, a happy message that just angers somebody, especially somebody who's worried about losing their job. And here is another important thing that I would hope everybody takes away. This one right here. Do not send an email when you are angry. Please, if you're going to type an angry email, don't put the person you're sending it to in the address form. Just don't do it. Because if you're angry and you're typing, you may get to the end and go, yes, send. And that may not be the best thing. It may have been better if you waited a whole day, went back and read the email and went, oh, that may get me fired. And you hit delete. So don't put the address in place first. Write the email, set it aside, come back, and when you really want to send that angry email, then put the address in so you cannot accidentally send it. I've done it once in my career. I never want to do it again because you can't take the email back. Something else to think about, and this is a debate that's going on right now, especially in Ontario, but across North America, but right now in this area, it's about the timing of sending emails. When is it proper to send an email to contact somebody? It depends on the culture of the company. But with all of the changes with pandemic restrictions and people working from home, oftentimes people have been getting emails later and later into the evening because their managers think that they're home anyways and they can take a message. My wife is having that problem right now with her work. She's trying to stop it by not answering emails that people are sending her at night, through the night, and the next morning, on weekends, on her holidays. She's just ignoring it. And then people say, why didn't you reply? I wasn't working. And she's trying to train people not to do that to her. It's incredibly stressful. It is important to have time for yourself, that you can have block when you're working and when you're not. That's how I approach it. If you make a decision to answer a message outside those hours, that's great. But then I would think you should think about this. Does the person who sent the email and you replied to it now think they have permission to send you an email at that time tomorrow? It's challenging. And there's now some legislation that has been passed into law in Ontario talking about how companies must have a certain set of hours for when communication can happen. I've not seen it formally been enacted yet. I like the idea. It's a question of how it's actually applied, but it's an issue. I would rather not send an email to somebody at home when I know they're going to be dealing with their family and important things, or on their holidays. I would not do that. I would do my best absolutely not to do that unless it were a dire emergency. So choose how you want to send the message. If you want to write or speak, those are the kind of general ways to look at it. If you want to write something, if you want to make sure your conversation is recorded, you don't necessarily need an answer. You're just giving information. That's okay. Or if you know that the person is likely very busy and unable to deal with reading your message right away, it allows them to look at it at another time. If it's detailed information, then put it in writing. If it's difficult to call or arrange a meeting, send it in writing, send an email, but make it very clear the information you're presenting. And please don't expect them to reply right away. It is not Twitter, it is not texting. Think about the differences in how the different ways of communication are used. Think about calling or actually meeting someone in person, or Zoom in the context we're in now. If you want to encourage a discussion and you want feedback right away, you need a quick response. Saying, hey, I got a quick call. I got a quick question for you. Got a moment? Yeah. Is the color going to be red for the program? Yes, it is. Thank you. Goodbye. And you're done. Hang up the phone. That's my telephone, pretend telephone thing. I guess I should hold my phone the other way. If you want to build a relationship with the person, a conversation is better than an email. Even a telephone conversation is better than an email to build connection with most people. And if you want to build rapport, you want to build a friendship and a team feeling, talking tends to be better because our brains like to connect. And if it's something that's personal or sensitive that you do not want to have recorded, that's when you would talk to somebody face to face. And literally face to face, not even a telephone, because sometimes telephone calls can be recorded. This is one activity. It's considering the context. And back up a second here. I'm going to close this screen. And I'm going to call up and show you what it looks like. And here is the activity. I'd like you to think about this and just go through this and just think through the process. If you had this situation, what do you think would be a good way for you to make the communication? I would suspect that this is something we tend to do a lot without ever thinking about it, because we're always kind of deciding along the way of what's a good way to communicate or what isn't going to work. We learn from what's happened in our lives up to this point. But this activity is about encouraging you to stop and think about the situation. And so in the first case, you have an idea for a new promotion, but you're not sure how it fits into the plan that your marketing manager has. So you would send it, the marketing manager would receive it. I would think you'd send it by email because it's not urgent. You're kind of asking a question. Timing could be any time. Here we go. You want the department heads, and I'll do this one, and I'll actually annotate this one along the way. I'll put text in. So you want department heads, the people in charge of the departments in your company, to know of modifications in the procedures for laying off unsatisfactory employees. So I would think if you want to communicate that, it would be you and it would be the department heads. The medium would be in person. Maybe a call by telephone, but I would like to do it in person. And I would say urgent, because the situation that I see there, that sounds like there's some problems going on. Then if there's a problem with an employee, the thought is normally you'd wish to deal with it as soon as you can. But I certainly would not send that as an email. Think about what could go wrong with an email. Because what happens with an email? Once you send it, you can never bring it back. There are a few, like Google, I think, has in their Gmail, they have a delayed thing. But if you send an email out, in general, you cannot call it back. It's permanent. It's forever. So you send an email out to your managers and you accidentally include the address of one of the employees that are having problems. Or you send it out and it accidentally includes an email of other just general employees who aren't managers. And they go, whoa, why are they sending out this information? Is it about me? And then that person may talk about it to somebody else and it all starts to go crazy in the background. So think about that. That's a situation that very much controlled. So think about that. Experiment with this activity, think it through, What would be the situation? We'll talk about it briefly in class coming up next week. So I'll now let you go on to the next activity that's in the after class activities. Please take a look at that, but please take a few moments and fill in this activity sheet for yourself and just think through each process. Would it work? Would it work? What are the dangers? What's the challenge? And you'll probably find you're already pretty good at it. Talk to you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.